The air around you thickens, as if the atmosphere itself is holding its breath, and you feel that familiar pressure on your chest, the one that always comes right before life shifts in a way you can't name yet. It's the same pressure you felt the day something in you finally snapped and you walked away from what was breaking your spirit, even though you had nothing certain waiting on the other side. That moment was the first crack in an invisible wall around you, a wall that has been slowly weakening with every choice you made to protect your peace, and tonight, that wall trembles again. You remember the seasons where you kept showing up for people who couldn't see you, pouring your strength into hands that didn't know how to hold it. You carried responsibilities that weren't yours, covered wounds that weren't your fault, and stood in storms that weren't meant for you. Yet even then, something inside you refused to collapse. That inner stubborn flame, the Capricorn fire, kept burning beneath the rubble of everything you lost. And now that flame has grown into something more dangerous, something brighter, something the universe has begun to acknowledge. There's a shadow behind you lately, not a dark one, but a watching one. The kind that follows the chosen, the rising, the soon-to-be elevated. It's the same presence that followed Joseph from the pit to the palace, the same presence that stood beside Mandela when he paced the prison yard, the same invisible force that surrounds those who are about to walk through doors they once thought were permanently locked. And every day, that presence has been inching closer to you, as if preparing to reveal itself when your spirit is steady enough to receive what it carries. Keys have been appearing everywhere around you, literal or symbolic. The key you found unexpectedly while cleaning, the key in your dream that glowed without a source of light, the keychain someone offered you without thinking. These are not random. Keys appear when gateways begin forming, when something is ready to be opened, when destiny shifts from preparation to activation. And if this message is resonating through you like a quiet thunder, remain connected here, because your path is shifting in ways that will rewrite your entire sense of direction. There is a real story about a woman who reached the point of emotional exhaustion after years of carrying her family, her work, her dreams, and her pain alone. One night, overwhelmed, she sat on the floor and cried until she fell asleep. But the next morning, she woke with a strange feeling that something had unlocked. That same week, she received an offer that changed her life forever. She didn't chase it. She didn't fight for it. It found her. Her story is echoing yours now, forming a parallel that is too precise to ignore, too aligned to dismiss. Something you walked away from is circling back with new intention. Something you lost is resurfacing with new power. Something that once wounded you is returning in a healed form, ready to give what it couldn't before. And even though you don't see the full picture yet, the atmosphere around your life is tightening, sharpening, aligning. It feels like the moment before a curtain rises, the moment before thunder cracks open the sky, the moment before a hidden truth forces itself into the light. You've been feeling pulled lately, not pushed, but pulled, like invisible hands guiding you toward a path that feels both unfamiliar and strangely predestined. This pull intensifies in the quiet hours, when the world sleeps and your thoughts grow louder. It's in that silence that your intuition speaks the clearest, reminding you that you are on the edge of something that doesn't look like anything you've experienced yet. And the deeper you move into this energy, the more you feel the presence of something ancient walking beside you. A locked door stands in front of you in the spiritual realm, tall and heavy, carved with symbols you can't fully understand. You've dreamed of this door more times than you've admitted, sometimes seeing only a glimpse of its frame, sometimes feeling the cold metal against your hand. You never stepped through it. You always woke up before it opened. But something about that door feels different now. Warmer, more alive. As though someone on the other side has begun unlocking its mechanisms, one slow click at a time. Storms have followed you for months, both inside you and around you. Arguments that came out of nowhere, sudden mood shifts, people revealing their true intentions, unexpected endings. These storms weren't meant to break you, they were meant to clear the path. The universe has been removing people who could not pass through the next threshold with you, stripping away distractions, disconnecting you from cycles that drained your spirit. And now, with the storm finally calming, the ground beneath you is beginning to vibrate with the promise of something rising from the dust. If your spirit feels this awakening, stay close, because the energy approaching you is not random, it is targeted, precise. appointed. Something in your lineage, something older than your lifetime, is beginning to fulfill itself through you. And the signs of this shift are about to intensify in ways that will shake even your quietest doubts. You can feel it already, the way your name has begun to move differently in the mouths of others, the way your presence is being remembered by people who once overlooked you, the way opportunities that ignored you are starting to slow down, turn around, and glance back your direction. This is the gravitational pull of destiny, the moment when your frequency rises so sharply that the world has no choice but to rearrange itself to match your elevation. And just when you begin to settle into this new awareness, when your heart finally starts accepting that something extraordinary is aligning for you, that door, the one from your dreams, the one that has been locked for years, begins to crack open with a sound that echoes across the very fabric of your spirit. A soft glow pours through the opening, warm and ancient, carrying a message that trembles through your bones. And right as the meaning of that light begins to form, right as the revelation starts to shape itself into words, something steps forward from within the doorway, something you never expected, something that makes your entire spirit freeze in stunned recognition. The night moves differently around you now, as if time itself has begun to lean in, listening for the sound of your next breath. There is a heaviness in the air, not the kind that drains you, but the kind that signals something ancient pressing against the borders of the present moment. You can feel it in your bones, in the quiet between your thoughts, in the strange way your heart pauses before beating again. It's the same sensation travelers felt centuries ago when they stood at the edge of uncharted land, knowing that one more step would change their destiny forever, yet unable to stop themselves from moving forward. Your footsteps have been echoing through unseen places, drawing the attention of energies that were once silent. Shadows that once meant danger now feel like guardians, drifting around you with a presence that watches but does not threaten. Even your dreams have become heavier, filled with mountains that rise higher each night, as if the spirit world is preparing your strength for an ascent you didn't realize you were being called to make. And as these mountains appear, a thin silver line of light traces their edges, whispering that something at the summit has been waiting far too long for your arrival. There is a woman who once stood in the ruins of everything she built, holding nothing but the memory of who she used to be. Her business collapsed, her marriage ended, her closest friend betrayed her. She reached a point where she stopped praying for miracles and simply prayed for the strength to stand. Months later, when everyone believed her story had ended, she was offered a chance that lifted her beyond anything she had lost. Her story mirrors yours now, the descent before the rise, the fall that recalibrates fate, the shadow that always comes right before light breaks open from the inside. You've spent years mastering endurance, holding yourself steady through storms that would have shattered others. Capricorn energy is the steel in the soul, the quiet resilience that survives winters longer than any calendar could measure. But lately, the storms have begun to behave differently around you. Thunder that once roared now sounds distant. Waves that once crashed now recede. Conflicts that once drained you now fall silent in your presence. The world has started responding to you as if you have stepped into an authority you didn't consciously claim, but somehow always carried. If your spirit feels this awakening, stay close, because the deeper this energy pulls you, the more you realize that everything around you is shifting position. People who once ignored you are watching you with new curiosity. Paths that were blocked are clearing without explanation. Even the air feels charged, as if invisible hands are rearranging your destiny in the dark. And beneath this strange momentum, there is an older rhythm pulsing, a frequency that feels like it has been waiting for centuries for you to hear it. There is a hidden theme threading through your life, repeating in subtle ways: the unfinished journey, the project you abandoned but never forgot, the dream you buried but kept returning to in quiet moments, the door you walked away from because you thought you weren't ready. These fragments have followed you like constellations that rearrange themselves only when destiny is near. And now, those same fragments have begun aligning again, forming a shape you're finally able to recognize, though its full meaning still remains half hidden behind a veil you can almost lift. Keys keep appearing around you, in conversations, in dreams, in memories that resurface without warning. A key is a symbol of access, of permission, of divine timing. It represents something that was once locked becoming available. And when keys appear repeatedly, it means the spiritual architecture of your life is being reorganized. It means the path ahead is no longer waiting for you to be ready. It has decided to be ready for you. Follow this message if it's pulling at you, because something you thought was impossible is shifting into alignment in the unseen. There was a prophet who once said that destiny speaks in earthquakes of the soul long before it speaks through signs in the world. You felt those internal tremors lately, the sudden surges of energy, the unexplainable heaviness, the strange clarity that arrives in the middle of the night. These are not coincidences. These are signals that the spiritual ground beneath your life is cracking open, preparing to reveal something buried so deep it could only surface at a time when your strength was fully awakened. And that time is circling you now like a rising storm, returning to the place where it first gathered power. Storms have shaped you more than victories ever did. The betrayals, the disappointments, the unexpected endings, the seasons where you carried wounds that no one acknowledged. These storms forged you into someone unbreakable, someone dangerous to the forces that hoped you would remain uncertain of your own worth. But now the storms are shifting into a new form, the kind that doesn't destroy, but announces. The kind that arrives when the divine prepares to reveal its next instruction. The kind that wraps around chosen souls before placing something sacred into their hands. You've begun to feel the pull of destiny not as a push, but as a summons, not as pressure, but as recognition. There is a place you are being drawn toward, a room you have never entered, but that has spoken your name long before you were aware of it. And as you move toward this unseen place, the shadows around your life feel warmer, more familiar, like old guardians stepping out from behind the curtains of your past to accompany you into a future they have always known you were meant for. Someone from your past has started feeling your energy again, though you haven't spoken. They feel the shift in you. They feel the elevation. They feel the alignment. You may not know it yet, but your name has become a topic of quiet conversations, not in envy, but in realization that they underestimated the magnitude of your becoming. And as your spirit rises into its next season, these echoes will grow louder, traveling through the unseen until they reach you in ways that will make your heart pause with shock. There is a locked door in the spiritual realm that once stood absolutely still no matter how many times you tried to open it. But something behind that door has changed. You can sense it in your dreams, in the signs around you, in the strange certainty that something long delayed has finally awakened. You can almost hear the internal mechanisms shifting, metal rubbing against metal, ancient locks turning for the first time in years. And with every turn, a glow begins to leak through the cracks, illuminating the shadows around your path with a light that feels both familiar and completely unknown. Remain connected here, your path is shifting, because the energy rising toward you is building pressure like a wave preparing to break. Something sacred is approaching, something unavoidable, something irreversible, and as it moves closer, you feel the atmosphere thickening with a power that makes every instinct inside you go silent, listening. And right as the light behind that door surges forward, right as the revelation begins to form into words too powerful to mistake, the door swings open, and what steps out of that ancient light reaches for you with a truth that shakes your entire spirit. The wind moved through the unseen corridors of your life that night, carrying a whisper you didn't yet know you'd been waiting for, a whisper that felt older than memory itself. It brushed the back of your neck the same way an unfinished destiny brushes the edge of a soul, and even though you didn't turn your head, something inside you shifted, slow but certain, as if an ancient lock clicked behind your ribs. You didn't know it then, but every closed door you had been staring at in confusion was part of a path that required this exact stillness, this exact moment of pause, this exact breath that wasn't fully yours. And in that breath, in that strange stillness, a shadow moved across your spirit, not in fear, but in recognition, a signal that the mountain ahead of you was about to reveal something hidden in its stone. The air thickened, pressing on emotions you thought you had already healed from. Old burdens you carried with the disciplined spine of Capricorn rose again, not to break you, but to remind you of the storms you survived without applause. You felt the weight of people you carried longer than you should have, the silent loyalty that cost you more than any betrayal, and the dreams you shelved, because reality demanded strength instead of softness. The pressure built like thunder gathering its voice behind the clouds, and your heartbeat matched its rhythm, slow, deep, deliberate, as though preparing for a truth that would not wait much longer. And as the pressure grew, you felt the strange sense that someone had already seen this moment in you, someone unseen, someone watching the way a mountain watches a lone traveler reach its base. You remembered a real story then, one that wasn't even yours, but lived inside you like a warning and a mirror. It was the story of the man who climbed Kilimanjaro after losing everything, his job, his home, and the woman he swore he'd grow old with. He said the mountain didn't heal him, it rearranged him. He reached the summit with bleeding toes and a trembling jaw, and when he screamed into the sky, the wind threw his own voice back at him, forcing him to listen to the truth he had avoided. He was the storm he feared. You felt his story press into your own, as if your spirit wanted you to understand that mountains never appear to punish you. They appear when your identity is ready to expand into its next form. And just as that realization settled into your chest, a deeper rumble began, as though something in your own journey had just awakened. There was a prophetic pull tugging at you, a pull that only Capricorns feel when destiny begins tightening its grip. It was the kind of intuition that makes your breath pause for no reason, the kind that sharpens your senses at random moments, the kind that stirs your sleep with messages you can't quite decode. You felt it rising through your spine the way Moses must have felt the command to walk toward the burning bush, confused, reluctant, but compelled by something greater than comfort. You didn't know where it would lead yet, but the pull insisted on attention, murmuring to the edges of your awareness like a candle flickering in a darkened room. And as it grew stronger, the air around you shifted again, heavy with meaning, heavy with the awareness that something was moving toward you. If your spirit feels this awakening, stay close, because the path was just beginning to reveal its shape. You felt the shift again, this time almost physical, as though the ground beneath your life had begun to tilt. It reminded you of the moment Serena Williams spoke about her early career, how the world underestimated her, misunderstood her discipline, misread her silence. She said she won her greatest battles before she ever stepped on the court because she mastered the war inside. Her words echoed now, weaving themselves into your path, into your identity, into the rhythm of your destiny. And as you breathed them in, the pressure around you thickened, almost humming, almost pulling you towards something just beyond the next emotional step. The shadows around your story deepened, not to frighten you, but to heighten your senses. You felt the memory of every person who smiled at you while secretly hoping you'd fail, every hand you held that let go the moment you needed support, every promise that dissolved into fog. Capricorn energy does not crumble. It compresses, it strengthens, it crystallizes into something sharper than stone. Those shadows weren't enemies, they were the remnants of unfinished lessons, reminders of the path you survived to stand exactly where you are. And as you breathed through them, one shadow lingered longer than the rest, almost forming into a shape, almost stepping forward, almost ready to speak. Real-life stories began weaving themselves into the air around you, blending with the rising spiritual tension inside you. You thought of the woman who worked 3 jobs to raise her younger siblings after their mother disappeared into addiction. People called her cold, distant, too serious, but they never saw the nights she cried into her folded arms when everyone else was asleep. Years later, she opened a foundation that now shelters abandoned teenagers. She never told the world that she built her empire from broken pieces. Her story whispered to you now, mirroring the weight of responsibility you carried before you ever had a chance to be young. And as her story settled into yours, something inside you cracked, not in weakness, but in readiness. Follow this message if it's pulling at you, because the spirit moving toward you isn't here to comfort you, it's here to unmask you. You felt a shift in temperature, subtle but undeniable, like the moment a storm prepares to drop its first drop of rain. Your intuition stretched toward something unseen, the same way ancient travelers lifted their lanterns toward distant temple walls. You felt the sense of something approaching, not physically but spiritually, as though a message wrapped in light was walking toward your life with deliberate steps. And the closer it came, the more the air vibrated with a truth you were almost afraid to hear. The emotional rise began slowly, almost imperceptibly, the way dawn climbs a mountain before lighting the valley. Every suppressed disappointment surfaced, every unspoken fear trembled at the edges of your awareness, every forgotten hope stirred like a sleeping animal stretching back into life. It reminded you of David standing before Goliath, not with arrogance, but with clarity. He didn't win because he was stronger. He won because he had already been shaped by battles others never saw. The stones in his pouch were not weapons. They were evidence of previous storms he'd already survived. And as this memory blended with your own journey, the spiritual winds around you intensified. Swirling with purpose, swirling with prophecy. Then came the twist, the kind that Capricorn senses seconds before it arrives, the kind that presses against your chest and warns you that the next revelation will not be gentle. A symbol appeared in your mind, a key. Small, ancient, with teeth shaped like a pattern you'd seen somewhere before but couldn't place. It hovered in your imagination, turning slowly, glinting with a meaning that refused to reveal itself too soon. You reached for it in your spirit, even though your hand never moved, and the moment your energy brushed against it, another symbol flickered behind it, a door. Not a door you recognized, not a door from your past, but a door you somehow knew was connected to the next stage of your destiny. Remain connected here, your path is shifting, because the door wasn't just symbolic, it felt alive, pulsing with something that called to you. You moved closer, not with your body but with your awareness, feeling the heat of the unknown radiating from its frame. The energy around the door felt both inviting and dangerous, both familiar and foreign, both a promise and a warning. And the closer you drew, the more you sensed that this wasn't an ordinary threshold. This was the place where your future began rearranging itself, where timelines bent, where ancestors whispered, where destiny stepped out of hiding. Your breath slowed as the rhythm deepened again, quiet mystery returning, but this time with sharper edges. The ground beneath your awareness trembled softly as though a revelation was trying to break through the surface. And from the far corner of your spirit, footsteps began to echo, slow, heavy, approaching, not human footsteps. These carried weight, meaning, presence. Something was walking toward you from beyond the door, something that had been waiting for the right moment to reach you, something that carried the truth you were destined to hear. You felt the final rise of energy gather in your chest like a storm forming its eye. Every instinct sharpened, every sense heightened, every shadow stilled. And just as the presence behind the door reached for the handle, just as the key in your mind began to turn by itself, glowing with a brilliance you had never seen, the door cracked open, releasing a rush of light that spoke a single message into your bones, a message that was about to reveal everything you weren't prepared to.